It started with the whispers. I had just transferred to Okwu State University, a quiet institution tucked away in a forested area on the outskirts of town. I was grateful for the peace. After 2 years of chaos in a larger city university, I needed something smaller, simpler. But Okwu wasn't simple. It was silent. Too silent. I moved into Hostel A2, an old 3-story building with peeling paint, dim hallways, and doors that creaked even when they weren't touched. My room was on the 3rd floor, room 311, and the very first thing I noticed was that the hallway lights flickered every night at exactly 8:14 p.m. Not 8:13. Not 8:15. Always 8:14. No one seemed to care. My roommate, Segan, was never around. He was a final-year engineering student and practically lived in the lab. I usually had the room to myself, and most nights were uneventful. Until one evening, as I sat reading on my bed, I heard it. A voice. Soft. Like someone murmuring from inside the walls. At first, I thought it was someone talking in the next room, so I knocked on the wall. Nothing. I listened closer. The whisper was slow, drawn out, like a chant. I couldn't understand the words, but I could feel them. Heavy. Vet. Wrong. I left the room and walked to the hallway. Empty. The flickering lights above me buzzed as I listened again. The whispering stopped. I went back in and decided I was just tired. Maybe a neighbor had been on the phone. Maybe the plumbing was weird. Old buildings had quirks. The next night, it happened again. 8:14 p.m. exactly. The lights flickered. The air went still. And the whispers came, closer this time, like they were just under the floor. I recorded the sound on my phone. When I played it back, all I heard was static. I asked a few people in the hostel about it. Most laughed. Some shrugged. But one guy, a quiet history major named Philip, didn't laugh. He just said, "You're in room 311? I nodded. He looked down at his feet and said, "That room used to be sealed. 2 years ago, a girl, she died in there. Not murdered. Not suicide. Just died. And no one could explain it. Her body was found sitting upright at the desk. Eyes wide open. No wounds. But her fingernails were missing. I didn't sleep that night. I kept the lights on. At 8:14, they flickered again. The whispers came louder. Closer. Like someone breathing right against my neck. I turned to look. No one. Then the wardrobe creaked open. I hadn't touched it in days. Inside, I found a sheet of paper tucked between the shelves. A class schedule. Dated 2 years ago. The name on it. Chisholm Okoye. I Googled her. One result. An obituary. Beloved daughter. Taken too soon. Okwu State University mourns her loss. That was it. The next day, I went to the records office and asked about Chisholm. The staff claimed they had no files on her. No class records. No enrollment. It was like she had never been a student there. But I had her schedule in my hand. Her name, her ID number. I wasn't imagining this. That night, Segan came home for the first time in over a week. I told him everything. He laughed at first, until he saw the paper. He went quiet. "That's not funny, man. I had a friend who stayed in this room before you. Uche. He left in the middle of the semester. Told everyone he saw something crawl out of the wall. No one believed him. Then 2 weeks later, he hanged himself. I didn't know what to say. He left the room that night and didn't come back. At 8:14, the lights flickered. The whispers started. Only this time, the door slammed shut by itself. I was locked in. The wardrobe began to rattle violently. The air grew cold, and the light bulb burst with a loud pop, plunging the room into darkness. My phone lit up, but not from a message. A note app was open. Words were appearing on the screen, typed by invisible hands. "You took her place." I backed against the wall, heart pounding. Then a shadow stepped out of the wardrobe. A figure. A girl. Long hair. Her face was wrong. Stretched. Her mouth was open wide, but her eyes were empty. She raised a hand and pointed at me. I screamed. And then silence. I woke up the next morning on the floor. The door was open. Sunlight streamed in. My phone was dead, but when I charged it later, the message was gone. I packed my bags and left. I didn't even collect my transcript. A few weeks later, I heard the room was sealed again. They said a student had a breakdown. Said he was seeing things. Rambling about ghosts and whispers. I've never spoken about it since. But sometimes at night, I hear the whispers again. Even though I'm miles away. And every time I look at my phone, there's a note waiting in my drafts. "You took her place."